This is Anne Marie, host of About This Life podcast. The podcast is about, how we go through life struggles, how we go through these challenges, and sometimes we think we at the end of the world. We really are not. Because life is going to always have problems. And if there's a problem, there's a solution. So the guests that come on the show have spoken and have made decisions, have pivoted, and had turning points in their life. In so doing, they might give us a roadmap into something, some new possibilities for ourselves. I am so happy and pleased today to welcome Miss Stephanie Harris. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Anne Marie. I appreciate you inviting me. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so grateful.
It is a pleasure to have you on, and I just want to let our listeners know that Stephanie, you are a positive psychology coach, and we all need some of that all the time because in this world that we live in, we need to be able to take a look at our mindset shifts. And I know something about you that you're very active, and we're going to get into that. And you are also promoting. Oh, let me get my tickets ready for this concert that's coming up. I'm excited to talk about it. And you are the creator of Shift with Stephanie. All right, Stephanie, multi hyphenate. Tell
Well,
us why somebody would call you a multi hyphenate. What does that term mean?
I have been diagnosed with doing the most. There's no question about that. Starting from an early age, my parents believed in doing everything that you could do to expand your world. And I just want to briefly tell people that my father was one of the first Black engineers hired at the Boeing Airplane Company, as it was called, in 1951. And that's how I ended up in Seattle, because you're going to see somewhere a mention of Seattle. So that's how I ended up in Seattle. My dad was working there for 37 years as an aerospace engineer. And one of the things that I learned from a very early age is if you think you can't, you won't. So if you
Mm,
limit yourself, if you tell yourself, I can't do that and do this, how am I going to do that and this? If you go at it from the limited perspective, you will have limited outcomes. And so my four adult children at 35 and 31 both have very expansive worlds, and they do a lot. And they're both accomplished athletes. They are both artists. They have very active social media, although I'm a grandma as of 3 months ago, so my
yeah.
daughter is not as involved. But the point is that when we think about mindset, when we think about creating our best life, when we think about shifting how we see our world, we have to understand it starts in our brain. And I am such a brain geek now because I understand that as a positive psychology coach, taking the neuroscience, that's a lot of words, the
Yeah.
neuroscience aspects of how we think, why we think, what we think, and how we do things, 99% of that is unconscious. And so we have to understand if 99% of what we think, do, feel, and act is unconscious, where do we stop and create an opportunity to be conscious? And so
Okay, so it sounds, Stephanie, like you want to hold us accountable for our
I
lives.
do. I do.
Ah,
I
so,
do.
so this is not a
If you can
laid
see
back,
that.
be the
See
light,
the
be
light.
the light.
See the
So
light.
this
Okay.
is not just a laid back exercise in changing our lives and making an impact. This is okay. You say you want change. Okay, just bring it on, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
What I
And
hear you talking about are belief systems, though. Unpack that
well,
for us.
I will unpack a belief system in two words: self talk.
Mm.
What we tell ourselves is what we believe. What we believe are our value systems, and our value systems reflect everything that we do. I value water, as an example. I value my family. I love the fact that at 65, I can
Yes.
plank for almost 2 minutes. not only on the floor, but on a solid core reformer.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
I last season, it wasn't easy, but in one day I skied 18,000 vertical feet. I ran my first marathon at 40. I did my first century, that's 100 miles on a bike in one day at 52. I I can go through a list of things that I started after age 50. At 62, I shot my first bow and arrow. I can tell you, it is not about this, it's about that. And whatever you tell yourself is what is going to happen. Now, I'm not going to wake up 5'10" with blue eyes and blonde hair. Let's put some perspective around this. But
That's
you're right,
not the
Anne
desire
Marie.
either.
Belief systems are everything, and mindset is everything. And I'm really grateful in that I got that at a pivotal point in my life when I was taking who was one of the first cases of COVID in the Fort Lauderdale area. And if you can imagine going back to the time when we knew nothing and everybody was scared.
Yes.
And I watched him and I saw him fight. And I said, you know, honey, if you want to be mad, sad, curse, it's okay. He said, I'm going to beat this.
Yes.
And while he's icing a sore back right now, at age 70, he clocks 120 to 150 miles on his bike every week.
That
And
is amazing.
it's amazing because the doctor said if he wasn't riding that daggone bicycle, he may have had a different story. And so I share that because mindset is everything. And I really believe, obviously by my life, that if you say you can't, you won't. And it's a really important thing to understand that your mindset directs pretty much everything.
It speaks to the idea in terms of what type of life that do you want to have? Because as we get older, and speaking of getting older, I went to the dentist this morning, right before I had some workshops to attend. The dentist is looking at my teeth, and I'm like, I get my teeth checked twice. I go for the cleaning twice a year.
Good,
I do what I'm
good.
supposed to do, but I don't use the water pick. Huh? Gum disease. And I'm thinking to myself, gum disease. And I'm just like, is this yet another thing? Another thing? Okay, she found some pockets in between my tooth.
Oh,
In
oh,
between the tooth and the gum line. And I'm saying to myself, because as you get older, then your body shifts. And one of the things she told me, instead of the dentist being proactive and scaling the tooth and me having to go to sleep for that, I'm going to give you some tools and advise you how you can take care of this at home. So this is the same as the mindset shift. Okay. So I'm going to let's list them. Let's list a couple of them, Stephanie. So for example, to the person that says, well, you don't know everything that I have to go through. That's one. What's another thing that people tell themselves? Another self-talk.
everybody relies on me, so therefore I don't have time to take care of myself.
Absolutely. Well, if I don't take care of it, who else is going to do
Exactly.
it?
And so, one of the really amazing experiences that I had last year was talking to a group of 17 to 19-year-olds in Prince George's County about their mental wellness journey. And
Mm,
I was diagnosed with a non-seizure disorder. I do not claim it. It was an experience. It happened twice. There were stress-based seizures that are completely controllable through rest and stress management and setting up boundaries. And so I shared this with the young people, and so many of them understood boundaries. One of them said, you know, my mom relies on me to take care of my younger siblings. And I said, Mom, I'm about to graduate. I want to go to college. I have to have 2 hours every day for me. And the mom said, you know what? You're right. And kudos for
yes,
articulating boundaries.
absolutely.
And that's so important, but you cannot establish a boundary if you don't believe you're entitled to a boundary. If you tell yourself, I'm not worthy of creating space for myself, I'm not worthy of telling other people I'll do it next week, I'm not worthy of saying, I understand I'm the most viable person in the family, but right now I have to attend to my mental health. They might be mad at you. I'm not saying they won't be. I'm only a child, so I could say that. But I know people have said to me, you know what, Stephanie? When I told them I will deal with this next week, they backed off. When I told them I'm taking a more healthful approach to eating, so I'm going to bring my own food, yeah, I got called a rabbit. They said I was being highbrow and sedity and blah, blah, blah. And why was I eating so fancy? But guess what? My blood pressure went down. My
Yeah,
weight went down. I'm sleeping better. I'm not as anxious. And so self care is primary, it is not an elective.
it
So for
is
those
that.
who say you can't do it or don't have time, the options
Yes,
aren't good. They're not
it
good.
is absolutely a priority. Self-care is self-love.
Exactly.
Self-talk
Exactly.
is self-love. And it
Absolutely.
makes it real when we say to ourselves, you must first learn how to love yourself before you can love it other people. But there are some instances where things just go just a little deeper. And we
Yes.
find ourselves, we have to ask the question, why? So if I say that I want to exercise because I want to lose weight, the question becomes, why do I want to lose weight? I want to lose weight because I want my health stats to improve. Why do you want your health stats to improve? So when you keep asking why, that's one technique of getting to the underlying core belief. Do you find that to be true in working with your clients and
I do. And I'm so glad that you used that word core belief. So, one of the things that I came to understand when I was studying, one of our practitioners loved to do these strength tests. And I was like, I don't know. We overanalyze things. Maybe we should just let
Mm,
it go. Well, what I realized in positive psychology, there is a term called self efficacy. And that's when you use where you were successful in the past in handling a challenge to a new challenge. So if you had a situation at work where you had a bad boss and you came up with a way to document what he was or
mm,
she was doing, you solve that problem by being able to go back to the documents and say, that's not what happened. This is what happened.
the evidence, the
And
receipts.
exactly, receipts. You got the receipts. You have a new situation. Let's say you have a child who doesn't exactly always get the facts in order. I started taking notes on my fact finding child. And guess what? Actually, you said on Tuesday the 18th that you were going to have an outline for the teacher on the 25th, so we wouldn't be waiting to the last minute.
Yes.
And then it became,
Well,
kept going over her. So yeah, whatever tools you need, whether it's self-efficacy, using past successes for current challenges, or the tools of positive psychology, which employ resourcefulness and resilience. And that's where it gets a little tricky because everybody has different areas where they feel most resilient. And a strengths test can show that, but a strengths test is just a test comparing very binary situations where life is gray, life is fluid, life is
yes.
very different. And so what I actually have been most successful in helping clients to
Hmm.
understand is that A, you have to have grace and you have to have a sense of humor. Because that's just, you're not going to get away with any of this if you keep beating yourself up or saying, woe
Yes.
is me. And so the first resource that we generally have is the ability to look inside. And the reason why that's so important is that when things are kind of falling apart, we look outside. This isn't working. That isn't working. This happened. That happened. That's not this. This is that. When you look inside and say, okay, Stephanie, did you get a good night's rest? Did you eat well? Did you have too much sugar, too much alcohol, too much caffeine? Did you spend too much time on social media? When you drain your resources and you drain your ability to give from a full cup, life is very different. So I actually have my clients start with a self-care inventory.
Yes.
The number one question is, what do you tell yourself every morning? And most people say,
Hmm.
what kind of question is that? What do I tell myself every morning? I'll give
Hmm.
you a great example. You wake up saying, thank you, Father, Mother, God, or thank you, Buddha, or thank you, Allah, for this day. And they, is that a gratitude practice? I said, well, that's one way of looking at it, but it's also a gratitude statement. And so when a person says, I don't generally give thanks in the morning, I say, well, guess what? Think about it. What energy are you setting forth by not giving thanks? You're kind of just
Mhm.
being, you're kind of existing. You're kind of just like, eh. But if you start with gratitude, it's true and it's been documented, believe it or not, Anne-Marie, in PET scans. When
I
you
believe it.
actually look at the brain of a person who gives thanks,
Yes.
the red, green, yellow areas of the brain light up. Those are generally what we call the dopamine areas that give us
Yes.
positive. I told you I was a brain geek. The positive, positive chemicals that the brain produces in response to a positive experience. And I want to say every single thought has a positive or a negative chemical reaction. So if I find myself going down that rabbit hole of social media or the news, I turn it off because it's draining my resources and I need all of my resources.
And you need all the resources, and it is okay to set the boundary of no. Are
And,
you coming out
and
today? No, not today.
exactly.
Stephanie, when you and I met, and we just recently met in person, it was wonderful to be able to resonate with you because your business shift with staff. I was mentioning, okay, that sounds so much or similar to my business. And I am becoming enough, becoming you. So I completely am in agreement with you that we look inward before we look upward. And that speaks to all of the masks we make. We wear, excuse me, all of the masks we wear masks like people pleasing. We wear
Mhm.
masks like imposter syndrome. We wear masks like woe is me, feeling sorry. And that often is at the core at our sorrow. And once we can identify that, we go through some of the things that you just identified because we need to come back to ourselves. We need to come back home to ourselves. I'm so glad that we can do this. I'm
Yes.
happy that we can do this and offer alternative solutions to healing that we don't have to go and take pills, okay, or medications unless it's vitamins,
Right.
something
Right.
that can heal us. So, what are some of the things that you are into? Because we were talking about cycling, for example. You love to cycle. You and your husband are avid cyclers, and you're multi-hyphenate. So I know there's more than one athletic
Oh
activity.
yeah, well, my favorite sport, believe it or not, is skiing. Somebody gave my mom some skis when I was 6. I said, "Mom, why are you, we don't ski?" She said, "You're gonna learn." And I'm like, she dropped me off at the base of the hill outside of Seattle and said, "Work it out," and I did, and that's pretty much my life. I love skiing, and so the cycling is a great, actually, it's a great, wonderful way to train the legs and the heart for ski season. And it's also a great way to get out and see the world. Now, I will say I have dialed back from being a road cyclist. I'm pretty much on the trails now, and that's from a safety perspective. I just feel a little bit safer on the trails, but I love getting out in nature and cycling and hiking and walking. And I love the water. I grew up in Seattle, as I said, so I was on the water a lot. But the thing that I love the most is just sitting outside quietly. Nature is healing. Green space is healing. We've looked at all the studies and the data around people who took breaks during the day in green space have reduced incidences of depression, anxiety, and all types of other ailments because being outdoor, I know it's tough because we don't have perfectly clean air,
Yes.
but we do have outdoor air, and it's very healing. And so one of the things that I learned pretty early on was that was really important. I remember I attended Howard University, HU, you
Hey,
know.
you know.
I wanted to eat outside and
I
have
miss it too.
a
Come on,
little, there you
sister.
go, School of Business, 83.
Yes, liberal arts, 85.
Oh, wow, yeah, I didn't
Yes.
know that. I knew you're younger than I was. I did know that.
Well, I skipped 2 grades, so hey.
Oh, and I loved sitting out. And my girlfriend was like, sitting outside, why? I was like, "'Cause the sun is out. It's not too hot. The trees are out."
Hmm.
That was not her life at all, but it's definitely mine. So I work with traditional medical models, but I also, at a very early age, embraced alternative medicine and functional medicine. And I was actually the first woman at Columbia Hospital for Women. For those of you who know, It's now a condo. But when my son was born, I was able to have an acupuncturist in labor and delivery. And that was
Yes.
because I knew I had a difficult time with my body responding positively to labor because I had a C-section the first time. And I took that knowledge and said to traditional Chinese medicine acupuncturist, can we do this naturally? And she said, absolutely. And so I've always had that
Mm.
model of medicine in the back of my mind. Now, what's really interesting is I work in the pharmaceutical industry. So I really have a very extreme polarizing view because I know how drugs work and I really ain't trying to take any.
Absolutely. You don't want to take as many. You don't want to have to take
Exactly.
your high blood pressure medicine. You don't need to take medicine for this and medicine for that.
Uh,
And so to get come off some of those meds is being active, being in the outdoors because of the oxygen, the fresh air, and just nature, just life
yeah.
is available to us.
I am friends. My voiceover coach lost over 160 pounds, and he is off of his cholesterol medication, his high blood pressure medication, his asthma medication. I didn't recognize him. I was like, dude, are you
Yes.
okay? Are you sick? Are you all right? He's like, I am well. I am thriving. I am. And he engaged with a doctor who are enlisted, I should say, who believe in the power of peptides. And we have so much data out there
Yes.
around peptide science. We're nothing but chemicals and basically hormones. And if you work with a good anti-aging doctor who understands that, they can get you on a regimen of anti-aging and healing, and more importantly, cellular maintenance and rejuvenation that will last you. And I've been involved on various levels pretty much since COVID because I was able to see how my husband was healed through nutrition and various supplements. And that's all we had back then.
That's
So,
life because
yep,
it
yep.
speaks to the functionality of functional medicine, the functional
Mhm.
body, because how much acid or alkaline is the opposite, how much imbalance we have in those areas. And we have gut health to think about
Yes, we
because
do.
what we eat, what we ingest, that might have something to do with our energy level. I know that's right because I know when I eat the cookies.
Yes, the
I
sugar
have to
brings
go
us
sit down and take
down.
a nap.
The inflammation brings us down. And I found out that I was a bad methylator. And if you remember back to eighth grade science, the Krebs cycle, if I wasn't eating, I'm sorry, I was eating, but what I was eating wasn't being transferred into energy. And I couldn't figure it out. And I actually went through the now defunct 23andMe. And at the time, they had a health profile that you could take that looked at various chemical levels of cysteine and all kinds of chemicals that were related to
Mhm.
digestion. And actually, a naturopath encouraged me to do that. And I share that because when we found out I was a bad methylator and I took supplements, I became a better methylator. And over time, my body healed. And then I got a little bit comfortable, started eating a little bit more bread, not
Right.
watching what I was doing. I still stay away from alcohol, and I've pretty much been minimally engaging in drinking adult beverages for a number of years now.
You
But
too. I
all of
understand.
that, yeah, all of that was telling my gut was saying, And when I got back on my B12 shots, my B12 complex, my omega 3s, my probiotics,
Magnesium.
my magnesium, and I do take progesterone, and I do have an estrogen patch. After a year and a half of denying I needed it and sweating like a pig, I consulted with another doctor
That's what's
and
up. The
said,
estrogen.
yeah, I tried the pellet, the creams, I tried everything. And that seems to work the best. And on my desk, I have my risk. This is a hereditary cancer screening that I'm going to take. My father had prostate cancer. I learned the BRCA gene is also involved in breast, ovarian, prostate, and a host of other cancers. I met with a geneticist at the Cleveland Clinic. I was a Florida resident for a number of years. Now I'm part time. And so I still use my Cleveland Clinic doctors because they are excellent. And in learning about how cancer screenings work, that was the one that the geneticist felt was best for me. And I share that because information is power.
I
And
see.
so you can't outsmart your genes, but you know not to be violent, but lifestyle, no, genetics load the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger. So we want to know what we have going for us and what we have that's not going for us so that we can work on that. And so I have a very stubborn genetic molecule called LP little a. That's an element of high cholesterol. Cholesterol consists of many elements. One
Hmm.
of the ones that's genetic is LP little a. It's very, very, very stubborn. It does not respond to diet, exercise,
Mm.
and supplements. So I fought my cardiologist for 3 years and he won. And I went on a PSK9 drug, which is a genetic marker that attacks that immediately, and it is working. I'm planning not to stay on it forever, but I needed to see that number change for my own health risk. And that's the only thing I'm on, that
And
and HRT.
you are a picture of health, and the information that you are providing, my goodness, what I'm hearing you say is that we don't have to sit back and let our health deteriorate.
No,
We
we do
don't have
not.
to sit back knowing that, our health is so vitally important. How are we going to do anything else? That if we focus on our health, the rest will come. We need to be an active participant in our own lives. Correct? That's what I'm
We
hearing you
do.
say.
We do.
Yes.
And your health is your wealth. And I want to impress upon people who are nervous about getting test results and don't want to go to the doctor and don't want to engage. First of all, I'm so glad you talked about the dentist. You are no healthier than your mouth. I'm the
Yes.
medical I'm the medical advocate for a patient experiencing strokes. The number one thing that I started with was his dental situation. And because of periodontal disease, that is a contributor to the inflammatory systems in his body. So we're working on getting that cleaned up. So it starts with your mouth. You've got to get your eyes checked. Women, get all of your well women exams. If you have dense breasts, don't be afraid to ask for extra imaging if your doctor agrees that that's required. Men, PSA is key. My husband's 9-year prostate cancer
Yes.
survivor. Praise God, his PSA remains undetectable. I am a prostate cancer survivor, spousal support person. Reach out to me directly if you have any questions. I will be happy, and my husband will as well, to talk to you. Please, please, please,
Absolutely.
please weigh yourself. If you're 1 pound overweight, it's 3 on your joints. I had both my kneecaps rebuilt because they were crooked, but they got worse when I was a little doughier, or as my husband said, he had more to love. But I didn't want to be loved more in that way. I wanted to be back to my fighting low 130s, and that's where I am today. Praise God, with the help of a little bit of GLP for a brief period of time. I'll tell you more about that later, but I'm maintaining it through consistent exercise and watching my portion. And
Watching your
so
portions.
that's so
That's so
important.
important.
So
It's so
important. You can have it, just can't have the whole
yeah,
thing.
but it's so important that we take active, and especially the message to the men in terms of prostate cancer,
Yes,
because both
yes.
my brothers was impacted by their PSA levels, and they had to seek treatment for that. One of the things that who knew that your mouth, in terms of this orifice, was had a connection to your gut health, to your immunity, and your body's capacity to do all of that? So it is so important that we take care of ourselves. And one of the ways we do that is we dance.
Oh, yes, yes. I think I may have convinced my husband to sign up for Simply Swing. I'm really close.
He needs to
I
come
love.
on.
Oh, yes, it looks so fun. I had so much fun. I recorded a little dance, and so the thing that I just love about my experience, or the experience that I've created, is that I just drop in where I fit in. And so
Yeah.
I was literally minding my own business back in 2007, working for the Capital Jazz Fest as a volunteer, and the promoter said, "Look, I know you work, I know you have a family, but I need somebody to fill in on the upcoming 2007 cruise out of Baltimore to Bermuda." I said, "Fill in doing what?" He said, "You have a fitness background. I need somebody who can help work with the fitness instructors to get them their water, towels, whatever they might need." I said, "Do I get a free cruise out of it?" He said, "You get a free cruise." I said, "I'm in."
No.
And here we are, 2025. I took a little bit of time off, came back this year. I'm managing groups and travel agents. And the biggest group that I love working with are the dancers.
Yeah.
And they are a wonderful group. Oh my God, to get on that ship. And I laugh because you can tell where people are from by the size of the hat boxes. So the Chicago people got the big old hat boxes. Detroit people got bags of shoes. The hand dancers have just multiple suitcases, outfits. It's not a dancing cruise per se. It is a music theme cruise. So we have R&B artists. We've got, oh, everybody, Anthony Hamilton. We've got
Love
Marsha
him.
Ambrosia. We've got Najee. We've got a little bit of smooth jazz. We've got some R&B. We've got um, Phil Danko, the wonderful dance troupe out of
Oh my.
Philadelphia. We've got Dion Cole as our comedian. We have so many wonderful musical acts, and then we have the dancers. So
And
it
then
is
we have the
great.
dancers. And
Yes,
I am just
yes.
so tempted. I'm like thinking to myself, what is my schedule going to
Oh,
be?
March
Because
22nd, you're available.
yeah,
You're flying to Miami.
let me see what I can clear to make that happen because I've been to the Capital Jazz Festival at Meriwether Pavilion, and
Yes.
every year that I've gone, I've only gone 4 times. Now, there are
Uh-huh.
people who are there who are lifers,
Yes,
okay?
there are. Yes, there
That
are.
that Capital Jazz puts on a show, so I can
Yes.
only imagine the cruise.
Oh,
Looking
it's
forward to
fabulous.
that.
And you don't have to drive anywhere. You don't have to do anything. You just get up every day and do your thing. There's every minute of the day is filled with fitness. They've got bidwists. They've got contests. They've got, of course, getting off the ship and exploring the DR, Jamaica, and the Ocean Cay, which is a private island. But there's just so much to see and do on this, and it's packed. And we've got, I'm just going to run this down more succinctly. Gregory Porter, Esperanza
Yes.
Spalding, Anthony Hamilton, Layla Hathaway, Norman Brown, as I said, Marsha Ambrosia, our special gospel guest, Tamla Mann, Dion Cole, he is so funny. Our comedian, Naturally Seven, Najee, as I said, Shantae Moore, the Blackbirds, Lindsay Webster, Butcher Brown. We've got a beautiful harpist, Brandy Younger, Phil Danko, as I said. Soulmates actually feature the music of Ashford and Simpson, the Gorilla
Mhm.
Orchestra Band, and more to come. So it's a great opportunity to get away from it all, experience just being in the Caribbean. Wonderful time of year. It's not too hot. We haven't gotten to hurricane season yet.
Yes,
And
it sounds
it's a lot of
wonderful.
fun. It really
And then
is. It
once
really
you
is.
learn how to dance, Stephanie, let me
Yes,
tell
yes.
you,
I
and
can't wait. I got my shoes.
I will say, once you learn how to dance, once you learn how to hand dance, there is like nothing like it. And once you learn that, sometimes you don't want to go back. And hand dance is line dance too.
Yes,
We find
yes.
a way to
Oh, I
fit that
saw that.
in.
Oh, I was doing my boots on the ground. That I did know.
That one,
Without a
yes,
fan, no
yeah.
fan, but I got to dance. Yes,
And before, yeah.
the
So
community
you're the
of
contact
dancers are great.
person for that. So you're
Yes,
the
I
contact
am.
person.
Yes, I
Okay.
am. Are you going to drop that in the follow-on information?
I am going to drop that in our show notes.
Okay,
And
wonderful,
so
wonderful.
when the episode airs, that people will have that available to them and they
Yes,
can contact you if they're
great.
interested. So
Perfect.
come,
Thank you.
let's have,
Us informs us as to how we need to start about healing and more importantly, our healing journey. One of your guests, I don't recall her
yes,
name, but she said, healing is a journey. It is not a destination. You are not here. And so I keep a lot of things around to remind me of my journey, starting with love,
yes,
followed by courage. These are blocks on my desk. And the fact that I have strength and I believe in telling the truth. And lastly, I will lead with honor. And that's
honor,
how I start my day. It's how I end my day. And I know people look at me and my husband and say, get a room because we love each other openly and consistently. One day on the ship, he was hugging up on me, the door opened, and the man said, get a room.
but I want to say something about you.
One of my co-creators, Heather Williams, and put together a program to support women called Rooted and Resilient. And it
Hmm.
was about pulling all of ourselves into a space where we could share our journey through this time. A lot of
Yes.
my sisters have been impacted by everything that's going on relative to their employment situation, and they were really hurting and feeling very gutted and overwhelmed. And so we created a Zoom environment, and we actually called it a beta test, that it became a phase one and a
Hmm.
phase two. It took on a life of its own while we were trying to perfect it. And we finally said, no more perfecting. Let's just jump in and support these people. And so these women all came very open, very honest, very vulnerably to the group to say, look, I need to take care of myself, but I don't know where to start. And so we were
Yes.
able to give them tools, we were able to give them resources, we were able to give them places where they can go, whether it be a therapist. One lady had two little kids under the age of 3, and she
Oh my.
said, physically, I am going nuts. And I followed up with her. She hired a personal trainer and she's taking Pilates, and she said she feels like $1 million. And
Yes.
so that's a great
Self-care.
example. Yep. And a choice. She said, you know what? The government got rid of me because I said something about people of color, but that's okay. This person of color is going to be okay. They can put me on administrative leave, but they can't put me on administrative leave. And she took
Absolutely.
that, ran with it, said, I'm going to take this time where I'm still getting a check and I'm going to take care of me and my family. And that's what she did. The Rooted in Resilience
Absolutely.
is another link I'll give to you for the notes that people can tap into for support.
And I want to say that we begin and we end with the spirit, because what God can do with a setback, with a disruption, it opens up the opportunity for the resilience you're talking about. And that's
Yeah.
just God. So this is Anne Marie with my guest today, Stephanie Harris. I'm host of About This Life, where we are changing our lives one day at a time. Take care, everybody.